Hello, and welcome to Laney College's video on selecting and exporting files. This is Lightroom 5, and you can see 6 images in the library window. This is called the grid view, and it corresponds to this little signal down here. You can change the size of these thumbnails by moving this. Actually, they're pretty big. And if you had a whole bunch of them, you want to see them all at once, you make them real small. Anyhow, we're going to do this. This portion of our work, we want to be able to select some of these for export. So what we want to do is we want to be able to see these big so we can see what kind of quality we have. Now, this is the very reason you do not throw away images on your camera, because you can't see things big enough to make any good decisions. Just keep them. It's not expensive. You've got plenty of room on your cards. And when you get them here into Lightroom, you can double click on them and you can see whether they're sharp or not. That's why you wait. This is called the loop view. And this is the reason that we have chosen standard previews when we import, because you see this cursor, when it gets here, it turns into a plus magnifying glass, and I click on it and it blows up the preview, and you can see, well, yeah, boy, that's in focus. You cannot see that kind of thing on your camera without a whole lot of work and good lighting conditions. Okay? So this is the loop view. If you want to go back to the grid view, you click here, and there's your grid view again. Or we can go back here and just double click on that one, and I'm back in the loop view, but it's mushy. Now, that might look okay when you look on the LCD screen on your camera, but it's not. So what we do is we can take a look at all of these images in that fashion. Now, let's go down here to the film strip. See this bottom thing here? And pick on the first one. And now these are all pretty large, okay? Let's just use our arrow key, or we can use our cursor to move from image to image to image, right? So let's go back to the first one, and I have already selected these for export, and you can see down here there's a white flag on them. Let's take that white flag off, and you can see that white flag is gone. I press the P, and that white flag is back. That means I like that picture. I want to import that one. We go to this one, it's mushy. I don't want to export it. I don't want to export this one. Let's look at this one. Pretty sharp, kind of interesting. I have a white flag there, right? If I decided that I didn't like it, I would press U, and that white flag would be gone, and I wouldn't select it for export, right? But I want that one. I go to this one, and it's kind of, I don't know. I got one that's like it here. Well, that's more interesting, of the same kind of plant. So let's take that one. You'll see I've got a white flag there. And then we look at this one, and it's mushy. So I don't want that, right? So we can go back to the grid view, and you can see here, white flag, white flag, white flag. Those are the 3 that I would want to export. All right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up into Edit, click and drag to select by flag, and I'm going to select flagged. And lo and behold, the white flags are all selected by the Mac, and these are going to be exported. And now I'm going to press this export button. And the export button gives me a dialog box, and this dialog box helps me to locate where I want to export them. It helps me to make decisions about file names and file sizes and metadata and various kinds of things. But we're going to keep this one simple. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into Choose, and I'm going to, on my desktop, I click on Desktop. I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call it Lightroom 5 Export. And I will click on it. And see how it is activated here? I will select choose, and that will be our destination on the desktop. All right? How cool is that? Now, we could rename these if we wanted. Let's say, let's rename this to, we'll just call it plant. Rename it all together. 160914 plant. All right? And that means that all of these are going to be exported with this name. Okay? Now we had them in a sequence. Let's make them custom name sequence. I'm glad I double checked that. It's 6091 plant 1. All right? And now that's going to be renamed. We're not doing video. Let's take a look at file settings. I want to make sure that I export these as JPEGs. They're not going to be for very big use or reprinting, and I may want to send them on the internet, so JPEGs are nice. If I was working in Photoshop, I might want great big ones like Photoshop documents or TIFF documents that scale well, that's easy to change colors and stuff like that. But we're not doing that, so we're going to stay with JPEG. Now, image sizing, very often for assignments, for example, I don't want to see huge old files. So I'm going to resize them to fit. And what I do is I pick long edge. And that means whether it's vertical, here's a vertical, right? Or horizontal, I don't have any horizontals. Whatever the long edge, I want it at 1500. That's just what I like to do. And that gives you a pretty big image. So if I wanted to blow these up a little bit and check for them for focus for my students and see if they are paying attention, 1500 is big enough. If you want to produce images for reprinting, there are a bunch of other settings. That's another video. I'm not going to mess with sharpening metadata. We already have metadata attached. I'm not going to mess with watermarking or post-processing. And so I'm ready to export. And I press the export button, and you see a thermometer up here, and it exported them, and they are in a file on the desktop now. And I think that's as far as we'll go for today. Thank you for your kind attention.